Well, howdy there, folks. My name is Casey, and welcome on back to the 7 Days to Die Survival Guide. First things first, I'm sorry that the episodes have been spaced so far apart. That is going to change. I unfortunately had some computer issues which resulted in a lot of crashes. So some upgrades have been made, but unfortunately I'm still stuck with eyes that send little children crying to their mothers. Anyway, we're back to the survival guide, so what's today's objective? Well, today we are going to look at looting, predominantly looting via the trader. Because the trader is going to offer us missions that will send us to locations. He will always have 5 available, and the locations will show as we speak to him. Now, we can choose one of those locations, head out there, and loot the building. But there is a trick to be able to loot the building twice if it's your first attempt. So, we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to look out for one of the biggest things that you need to find very early on. And if you cannot find it, the trader usually sells it, and that is super important for survival. So, if you're ready for the survival guide, then leave the video a like, click subscribe, and comment down below what you would like to see me cover next. And let's get into the episode. So, the first thing is first. It's currently 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, the trader is closed between the hours of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., give or take a few minutes. Sometimes he's a little bit lazy and doesn't get his arse out of bed until about 5 past 4. Other times it's about 4 past 4. I've noticed it does kind of range. So, I need to address an issue that maybe you're also suffering from as well, and that is my hydration. I don't really have any. I am losing hydration left, right, and center. We can tell with this blue bar at the bottom that it just isn't that good. And when I hit something, you can see that it uses about 5 stamina, or about 7 stamina. And it's just recuperating in bursts of about 3 to 2. It's about 2.5 is how much it's recuperating by instead of the typical 5. And that's going to go all the way down to 1 when I get super dehydrated. So having a dehydration problem is going to mean that I can't attack as often as I would like. Now, there are a lot of places around here, a lot of buildings around here. So I figured we would try and poke around and check out one. That's the 2 skull. I don't really want to take that on being dehydrated. And what about this one? This one is also a 2 skull, right? So I'm just coming around the back here. There's a trash bag over here. Maybe we can find something there. No, I've got 1 murky water, but I would rather not drink murky water. But I did see this trailer here. And trailers always have like a little kitchen area in them. And sometimes you can find the item that we need to find very early on. There's one item in the early game that is super important. And once you get it, you should be set relatively on hydration. And that is a cooking pot. Right now, we do not have one. And there are many places that you can find a cooking pot, but it's more commonly found within kitchens. And that's where we're going to look. Also going to check this charcoal grill. I found one a time or two in there. So we've got ahead, we've got this. Don't forget to search your mailboxes. All mailboxes typically have is magazines, and they are very useful. There's another armored up for us. Tragedy trailer. So we want to go in. Going to crouch down using the control key. Bring out the bow and arrow. There's a food pile there that might have a little bit of water in it. Open up there. Yes, we've got a Z here. Put her out of her misery. That's great. Be careful of your trash piles on the floor down here. Make sure we take that out so that we don't let anybody else in here. I do not want to fight anything that I don't have to fight right now. So I'm just clearing the area. This is something I always like to do, especially in just a local area. If it's a big 5-star POI, then we'll clear out the area as we go per location. But in here, I wanted to make sure that this was cleared out. Great, okay. Let's have a little look at the food pile first of all and see if we can get some hydration in there. The chicken rations, it's not really hydration. It is hunger. What about the coffee maker? Sometimes you can get very lucky and find a coffee in there. Other times, it's just murky water. Let's check the dishwasher out. Yes, that's what we want. The cooking pot. That's great. That's exactly what you want to find. And this can be found pretty much in any appliance, in any cupboard, anywhere within the game. Just because I found one in this location doesn't mean that you are guaranteed to find one there. There's some yucca fruit there too. But at least you know where to look. Try to find it within kitchens. I find that the most common place. If you are struggling, we can always purchase one from the trader. Now, make sure that you check book stands, or rather nightstands. You can sometimes find yourself some books in those. And check the bathrooms. There's a couple of good reasons I always say to check bathrooms within this game. The first one is a medicine cabinet. Medicine cabinet has cloth in it, but it sometimes has meds in it quite commonly. And the toilet. You can sometimes find a toilet pistol within here. We did not. We just found some poop roll and I don't really think that's a good idea. You can also break down curtains for cloth. It's something that I typically do as I just go through the buildings. There are other places that you can get cloth, like breaking down beds and such, but in the early game, you know, you're kind of stumped with the fact that it's going to take you quite a while to chop through this, and you're just going to waste stamina doing so. You don't want to be doing that in the early game, so I just typically take the easy stuff early on. We can go ahead and open up the door. You'll find that there's a rack like that in most buildings, but I'll cover that more when we actually go looting and take a look out here. Just be careful when you're around some of these. Sometimes there are dogs outside, but it seems like we found what we want in the first place that we looked. If you haven't found it here, then, you know, keep a lookout for the kitchens. We have woken up a zombie. I'm going to quickly search this. Some electrical parts. Where is he? He sounds like he's in the shed back here. We might as well finish this location off. Yeah, he's right here. He shouldn't be too difficult. We are on an easy difficulty. Okay, check the rusty barrel. You usually find a lot of fuel in here. And while what fuel you get in there, oh, handy land. While the fuel that you get in here isn't that much, in the early game, because we're not using fuel. Vehicle adventure. Oh, I can hear a crawler out here. One of them stupid spider zombies, as I call them. Yeah, like right here. These are a nightmare. Especially if you have aim assist on or you're playing on console, because they just drag your aim all over the screen. But a few headshots into him will deal with him. I find a good technique when dealing with these is just to keep backing up. You can jump further than he can. Or rather, you can move back further than he can jump. And then just go ahead and dome him on the head. Try and aim your headshots some more armored up. So yeah, okay, we've got a few things going on here. Let's slow it down and talk about it. The fuel. The gas cans, this is not a lot of fuel in the long term, or in the short term. It's not going to fuel our car, but we don't actually have any vehicle that's using the fuel now. So checking those little barrels as you go along within the game, you're going to find that you have a lot of these gas cans accumulating, and then by the time you get your first motorized vehicle, you have enough fuel to keep it going for the foreseeable future until we can get to the desert and start mining oil shale. Second one, always aim for the head. Try to aim for the head. It does a lot more damage. And remember, if you've got the settings that I've got, we can move faster than the zombies. Don't panic. Now, I'm going to check the rest of these out. Nails are going to be super important. Nails are going to be needed when we start to make the workbench a little bit later on. Not right now, though. There's a sham sandwich. Again, we have a chance of dysentery with that, so I would rather not eat that unless I absolutely have to. So now that I'm back at the base, it is still not time for the trader. The trader doesn't open until 4 o'clock, but we need to deal with that hydration problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the campfire right here, which is super cheap. It's just 5 stone. This is going to allow us to brew up all of our food that we need within it. We just press E, and you can see over here all of the food that we can brew up. You've got 4 different icons at the top right here. Food. This is the food. If there's a padlock on the right-hand side, we cannot use that just yet. This is usually locked behind certain things. Like this one is food magazines. We need to have read 10. Same with the blueberry pie, only that one's 11. The boiled meat is 8. The can of sham. We need to find the recipe for that. So you can always see what they are locked behind by just simply clicking on the icon. Now, if we go over to drink here, it'll show us all of our drinks. And right now, we've only got water available to us. You've also got medicine here, but we don't have enough to make them here. We've also got chemicals. This allows us to make glue, paint, and paper if you so desire. Although some of these do require the beaker, but we'll cover all of those in just a second. Right now, we want to craft water. And if we click the water right here, it tells us up here in the middle, big red X, saying that the cooking pot is required. That is why we needed this thing. So if we go ahead and we put the cooking pot in there, we've now got the green tick saying that we can make this. But it's still not going to let me cook it. Well, it's a campfire, isn't it? So we need to give it a little bit of fuel. You can use a lot of different combustible blocks for this. You can use wood. If you've got some coal, we do have a little bit of coal somewhere, I think. Oh, no, we don't. We don't. I thought we did. You can use a lot of different combustible materials. I do recommend in the early game to use logs, or not logs, sorry, wood, because it's so readily available and you can get it incredibly easy. And then we can go ahead and we can click cook to cook one, or we can press this button right here and then click cook again to get those cooked here, and it's going to show us just how long it will take. So now that is doing up, this is just going to take a little bit of time. We can leave this, let it do its thing. We do not need to worry about it. I'm actually going to talk about a comment that I received. There was a comment that said that there's another great feature to this base that if I'm honest, I didn't even think about, and he is totally right. Now, the comment talks about the fact that zombies can walk in through this door. And if you are struggling with the zombies and they do keep walking in, I mean, we haven't seen any. I haven't had to deal with too many. I think there's been the odd one roaming around. But if you just don't want to deal with the zombies, there is another option for you, at least temporarily. And the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to make it super easy and right near our door is I'm going to take out that lantern right there. Then I'm going to use some wood and I'm going to craft up about 10 of these building blocks. And this technique can be done anywhere. I'm just choosing right here. Then you can go ahead and hold the R key to bring up the shape menu. This is the shapes, and we'll talk about this when we get into building. But we just want this top one right here. This opens up the entire shape menu. And there are literally probably thousands of different shapes that you can choose from. But when you open it up, you're going to be on this basic tab right here. And you can go ahead and select any one of these ladders, whichever one takes your fancy. I'm a big fan of both the scaffolding ladder and the square ladder. I think we'll take the scaffolding ladder for this one. But you can use any one you want. And then I'm going to use the left click button to rotate that once. You can also press the R button to rotate it in the other direction. And then I'm going to press the right click to put it down. But I'm actually going to put it down 2 blocks off of the ground. So 1, 2, there we go. So there's 2 below it. And we're going to take this all the way up. Now grabbing our axe, we can hold right click. And what we can do is we can actually upgrade this to wood. Now, if we've misplaced any of these before we upgrade it, we can simply just press E to go ahead and pick that up and then put it back down. But I haven't misplaced any. I'm happy with it as. So I'm going to upgrade it to wood. Now, if we wanted to get rid of this, we would have to break it, but we can always repair it with the axe with right click. Now, the great thing about this is you can actually jump up here and climb up. This puts you kind of up here and zombies can't exactly get to you. So you are free of the Zeds if you need that quick moment to either heal up or just gather your thoughts. And of course, we can go down the ladder and just drop off, no problem. You can jump this 2-block gap and grab the ladder. But zombies, they cannot. Just be warned, if you do hide out up there when you've got a horde going by, they are going to start punching the building. They are going to try and bring the building down to get to you. And you can sort of do this on top of that building. You can do it on top of the wall. There are lots of different places where you can utilize this trick. I just chose to do it right here at the entrance in case we were out and we were getting jumped and we had lots of Zeds. We just quickly wanted to come back and boom, we can just jump right on it and get a moment of reprieve. And just like that, the water is finished. We've got the hunger done too. We've got 1 chicken ration. This is not going to see us through for long, but it'll do. It'll do for now. I'm going to down, I think, 2, maybe 3 of these waters. To be fair, they only do 20. They're not that good. Water isn't difficult to come by, but in the early game, it certainly is. Now, as with always, whenever you eat or drink on this game, it's not an instant reprieve. Your hunger goes up by 1, or your hydration will go up by 1 for every second that you have here. So this is slowly going up as this counts down. Now, there is one really annoying thing about this game whenever you're using the campfire, the forge, or anything that requires fuel. Once everything that you are cooking up has completed, like the water, it is still going to burn through your fuel supply. You need to remember to turn it off. Now, a trick here is to just know how much you want. This takes 50. So if we were to put 1 in there, we can see that this takes 50 seconds and 1 piece of wood is going to burn for 1 minute and 24. So we can just put enough in to cook up 1 of those, or however many we need to. That's one little trick that you can do. There's also mods that mean that it just automatically turns off once it's finished cooking whatever it's doing. But we are going to talk about mods in a later adventure, and we'll definitely look at adding those. But it's almost time to get going out on the hunt. So I'm going to put these things away, and I'm also going to repair off some of our tools. And I'm not sure if I covered this or not, but repairing is very easy. You just bring up your inventory like so. Ignore the dew collector. That's a little bit later on. All we're going to do is we're going to click repair. But it's actually, I don't have the materials for this. And it tells me down here exactly what I need. I am missing wood. So I can go ahead and grab some wood. Some things do require a repair kit. More advanced things we get a little bit later on. But these tier 0 weapons, yeah, be fine with just wood and stone. There we go. They are all repaired up. And now that it's about 4 o'clock, we can head out to the trader. Now, if you're using the same generated map as I am, and we've taken the crypt, then you may have forgotten exactly where the trader is. He's all the way at the end of the road that is straight outside the front entrance, and then you turn left. So we are at the end of the road, our crypt is right there, and we turn left. Now, Trade Direct Compound always looks the same. We've been here before. We did our introductory mission, so we've already scavenged the area. We've looted all of the containers. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go all the way in, and we're going to talk to Rect. Now, you're going to have, may I see infantry, do you have any jobs? And never mind, the admin options are not going to be there for you, so don't worry. That's just because I use what's called debug mode, and I turn that on. That allows me to get those third-person shots that I'm able to get. But without it on, you can see that it's no longer there. So we've got 3 options, and infantry, if you want to buy anything. He usually has some really good things for sale early on that you typically can't afford, but he does have the cooking pot right here for 540, although it might be 600 for you if you don't have the cigar on your helmet like I do. So don't worry about that. He's also got some jar of honey. He typically has some things that'll help you out in the early game, like a little bit of water, a little bit of grilled meat, and his restock day is day 4. So on day 4, his inventory will change very slightly. Usually, a lot of the things that he has for sale, he'll continue to always have for sale. But there are some things that I want to rotate in stock and just change out bit by bit. But we don't want to see his inventory. We want to go for the jobs. So you can see here that we have a list of jobs that we can do. And it tells us on the right exactly where that location is. So we've got to clear zombies. This means that we need to go into the location and clear out all of the zombies. And that is located at Dick's Diner. We've got buried supplies. We did one of those in the early game, in the intro mission. We've got to go out, dig up some supplies. And this is a great way of getting some food and some water, and also cooking books, farming books. I find that they are plentiful within those, but that stone shovel takes forever to dig up a buried treasure, and the area is slightly bigger than it was in the intro quest, so you could be digging for quite some time using your stamina, using your hydration, and using your hunger. And that's not something that I like to do in the early game. Not right now, anyway. The big focus at this point is food and hydration. That is what we need to survive. So you've also got fetch quests. This is where he will have a supply that needs to be picked up at that location. If you remember the intro mission, the buried supply mission, we actually had to get some White River supplies, which are only useful to give to Rect. We can't actually open them ourselves. So we've got a few there. There are sometimes you get a combination of the two, such as clear zombies and fetch, where you need to clear all the zombies out of the area and also fetch the item. So just be careful. Many of times I've gone to a location, looted it, and forgot to grab the little briefcase that he wants that contains his supplies. So, what are these locations and what do they do? For the most part, a lot of these are self-explanatory. Dick's Diner is obviously a diner, so it's good for food. Moe's Grocery is a grocery store. Again, it's good for food and hydration. The Passing Gas Store is good for car part related things and car magazines. And Blue Sky Project, well, that one's not itself self-explanatory. If you click it, what does it show us? One of our operatives has stashed their shipment of Blue Sky projects. Go retrieve the shipment and return it to me. So it doesn't give us any more information on what that is. The Blue Sky project is actually an underground bunker. I would imagine, I've never done it before, there are about 1,000 POIs within this game, so you will always find POIs that you've never done before. I imagine it's some sort of weapons, things like that. But we need food. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Moe's Grocery. And if we take a look here, it actually tells us how close we are to that location. And Moe's Groceries is only 96 meters away. So we're going to go ahead, we are going to accept that, and we're going to head out. Now, this is a location that we are familiar with. We know exactly where Moe's Grocery is without even really needing the map, because we've walked past it a few times. It's literally next door to Rect. In other words, he's being a lazy backside and can't be bothered to walk down the street to get his supplies. But he doesn't really strike me as a fighter. So now we are going to head to the location. So now we're at the location. The first thing we're going to do is, you can check out the purses, you can check out the grounds, get a little bit of cash here. You've also got a car. Check this. There might be a vehicle adventure magazine inside. We want to make sure that we're getting into vehicles. We've got a stone spear. We don't really use spears. We're using clubs, although you may have gone down that route. So by all means, but then again, the loot is completely random. Check things like baskets. This is made of plastic, so I want to break this down. We are going to need those scrap polymers to be able to make our dew collector a little bit later on. These wood piles actually give you a bit more wood than breaking down a tree for a lot less stamina usage, so I find picking them up in the early game is really useful. Now, when we get to the location, it's going to have a flag outside that we can press E to start. But don't do that just yet. If you already have, don't worry about it. You can use the advice I'm about to give you now on your next mission. What this does when we press E is this completely resets the POI. Respawns it in its entirety. Anything that we've taken out, those logs right there, will be back. The loot within that car, if it spawns another car there, it can sometimes spawn a broken down car, but if it gives us an actual car, that loot will have respawned too. So, in the early game, when you're first doing a mission, especially if you're playing solo, make sure you go around the POI once already, so you can learn the POI. Now, I don't know if what I'm about to say is actually a placebo effect or not, but I actually find the POI is easier when you are not on a mission. It's like the amount of zombies are less. Now, we're going to go around here on the Moe's Grocery, make sure we take this out. I don't believe we found the Night Stalker one. And there's usually a zombie back there. I'm going to try and sneak his head. We got him. He is now dead. Now, oh, we've woken somebody up out there. So again, we're going to just bonk her on the head. Try and aim for the head. There are a couple of Zeds out here. If you are struggling, you can always head back through here, through this gap and out there and take her outside. We've got a wide open space, but you do have quite a bit of space to play around with back here. Just keep a distance. The way that I like to deal with Zeds is I will go in for the attack and then immediately back up as soon as I press the attack button, so that my attack just connects barely and I am at a safe distance from her to prevent her from attacking me. Now, another thing to note is sometimes I was able to loot this, but you might not be able to. Not all loot containers that contain loot will contain loot every time you do a POI. Sometimes they have loot in them, sometimes they don't. Now, the one thing that always gets me, and I always forget about it, is as we go into this building right here, there is actually going to be a chap always down here. And more times than not with me, that ends up being a feral that almost takes me out. Now, one thing you want to keep your lookout for with these water bottles, you can typically find some murky water in those, and that'll keep us alive for just now. Moving into the back room, you want to make sure that you check this closet. There's typically somebody asleep in there, and I woke her up. I wasn't able to get a sneak attack on her. But always look in these closets. And she was able to hit us for a couple of hit points, but it wasn't too much. There we go. And the reason we check everywhere is because you never know where a magazine is going to be. There was a Home Cooking Weekly. There's another one there. We need 10 of those to be able to make eggs and bacon, which is one of the easiest and best early game foods within the game. It can carry you actually into the late game, and you could probably use it for your entire playthrough if you really wanted to. It's easily renewable and so sustainable. Now, when we head into the big bit right here, I try not to loot the containers just yet because I don't want to wake up any zombies that are in here. There's usually one or two. Here we are. There's Mo himself, look. And we'll just bonk him on the head. And again, when you knock him down, try and get your hits in there. I always use the right click for the power attack. And then we can go around here. We can see that there's nobody here. So we want to loot this place, making sure to check out the water bottles there. Sometimes you can get really lucky. There's usually a couple of magazine racks alongside the doors. Night Stalker Volume 6, gain 5% more XP at night. There's usually coolers in here which contain water. Yeah, we got murky water there. Sometimes you can get lucky and get a coffee or something out of them. And don't forget to check these, because I just pulled a Wiring 101 out of the one down there. Shelves are great for things like that, but they're also really good for just random little knick-knack stuff like some iron pipes, some nails. You can get a bit of cloth out of them, polymers. They're just really good for resources that you are going to be using all the time. Like glue, that is a super important one. Glue is one of the most important resources within this game. You are going to be using it to make duct tape all the time. So there we go. We're just going to check all of these now. And again, if you see anything that you think is made of plastic, break it down. We are going to need those polymers. And check out your food piles. Home Cooking Weekly. We got another tin of food. That'll keep us alive for the foreseeable future. Okay, now moving into the backyard right here, we are going to come across what is called the loot room. In every POI, there is a loot room. But first things first, we're going to find our key. Now, I've shown you it on the little coat hooks. Sometimes it's in a box like this. We can open that, and that gives us quick access back out. Now, most POIs do have something like that, whereas you go through them very linearly, and it points you in one direction. And then as you sort of come out towards the end, you'll find that there's a door that can be opened that leads you pretty much right back to the start. Now, when it comes to loot rooms, be careful, because there is going to be quite a lot of Zeds in there compared to the rest of it. I'm going to take her out there, and you'll know you've hit the loot room because you'll find the main loot crate. In the earlier POIs, it's just a wooden crate with some rope tied around it like that. But in later ones, we'll get military grade boxes. Okay, I'm going to use my arrows to take those out. I need to make up some more arrows soon. We're down to 3. Try and take him out in one hit. There's usually a couple more in here. So there's always one in there I found. But sometimes you can find one. Yeah, there's one just sort of hiding behind there. But I don't think I'm going to be able to... Yes, I'm going to be able to sneak up behind him. Get that sneak damage in. That's him down. And there's usually another one back here. But I don't really see it. Oh, hang on a minute. He didn't die. It was my bad. The survival guide, and I'm letting you guys down. Okay, so now what we can do is we can actually loot the place. I'm a little bit hungry as well. Grab our arrow back. Grab that one back too. And you typically find some med supplies, which is always good. We got some painkillers. Painkillers are used for concussions, but they're also really good if you're low on health and you just need to quickly jump your health up. They're not going to recoup your health slowly like the first aid bandage does. So we've got the working stiffs tool crate. You saw what that looked like on the outside. And this contains building cubes. That was actually a really bad pull on our part. But the main loot is within this wooden crate. And we got the bar brawlers. Volume 4 does 20% extra damage to knock down and stunned opponents. We also got some chicken rations. Typically, you're going to find stuff in here that relates to the POI that you're looting. So we looted a food POI. So we got a little bit of food in there. And then the other crates can sometimes relate, but sometimes they have no relation whatsoever. They can be really strange, but I am going to make sure that I check everywhere within here. And as you can notice, we are starting to become encumbered. And I don't really like the idea of doing this POI again for the mission while I'm encumbered. But don't forget to check the cement mixer here because you are guaranteed a forge ahead drop there. I think in my entire time playing this game, I've only ever looted one cement mixer that didn't have a forge ahead in it. So now we are growing encumbered. And do we really want to go around this POI being encumbered? No, we don't. So there's a couple of things that you can do. One thing that I like to do is I like to make a storage crate. These are super cheap and there's always wood everywhere you go. So even if you don't have it on you, you can always find one. And I put one of these down, but make sure you put it down away from the POI. I always like to go to the opposite side of the road. If you were to put this down within the POI, when we hit that quest marker there and the POI respawns, the chest will be deleted. Then I can come up to the crate and I can just literally throw everything that I've looted in here. And that's going to keep it safe for me while I go and loot a second time. Now you can also put these crates outside of the traders, which is what I like to do as well. Have a couple of them just outside the trader so that I can keep coming back with missions, dropping them there. Alternatively, you can just take this stuff home if you want. We are close to our home, but sometimes you're just not close to your home. So now it's time to go ahead and hit the trade marker again. And this will allow us to loot the building for a second time. Now just remember, you already know where a lot of the zombies spawn, so doing it the second time around should be easier. The loot will be different, and some of the loot containers that you were able to loot last time, you won't be able to loot. We found a vehicle adventure in a rolling toolbox there. And you also will have some loot containers that you weren't able to loot that you will be able to loot. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me go through this a second time. I'm going to bring you back when we're at the main loot room. So it really didn't take me long to take out all of those. And now we can go ahead and check out the main loot room here. This time we've got a different sealed shipping crate here. Now the higher the tier, the more crates you typically find. But for us, it's just the one and it's a poppin' pills, which is actually really good. And it was actually really crap. We didn't get much in there. We did get an aloe cream, but we did get some magazines. And here, I'll go through the ones that I found while going ahead and looting this place. Get Hammered, Southern Farming, and some Wiring 101s. We've got the medical supplies. We want to see first aid bandages, but we're not really seeing those. And then we've got the ammo pile. There's usually a small ammo pile knocking around here. You'll find like an ammo supply, a med supply, a box, and then the crate typically. Not always, but typically you'll find that. And then we search the wooden crate. And we've got the Ranger's Guide to Archery. Successful sneak attacks with arrows have a 20% greater chance of knocking down the target. And then we've got some more ammo. We finally got some 7.62s, which is what we've been using within our pipe machine gun here. And we've also got some cornmeal, which isn't the greatest. So that time, the second time around, it wasn't really all that good. However, we are here on a mission, and it was to retrieve the White River supplies. And you'll see on your compass there that it will show you where they are. And we can see that they're actually right here, right in front of us. So we can go ahead and we can open up the satchel. We can grab it. And that was easy. Now, I will say that that one was incredibly easy to find. They do have a habit of hiding those behind sort of blocks and whatnot. You might have to destroy maybe a cardboard box or what looks like a floor piece, but it's not actually a floor piece. It's slightly warped. That one was in a very good location. And there's one more thing that I want to touch on. Not always, but sometimes you can find working vending machines within these properties. And what I like to do is I press M here. I right click here. I click save waypoint. And I like to choose a skyscraper looking one. And I just put VM for vending machine. That lets me know that this place has a chance of spawning a vending machine so that later on, when I've got a bunch of dukes and I'm looking for things like Grandpa's Awesome Sauce or Sugar Butts, eye candies, things that will help me out, I know exactly where to go looting for my vending machines. So now that I finished that location, we can go ahead and throw pretty much as this will let me put in there. Now, the only item that you can't move are these white river supplies. You can't even drag or drop them. There's only really one way to move these around in your inventory, and that's to sort them. If you sort them for some reason, it does move them, but you can't physically. You can't drop these. You can't really do anything with them. We need to take them back to the trader. Now that we are back with the trader, when we talk to him, he will have a reward for us. And these rewards I find are incredibly useful in the early game, but as you sort of get later on in the game, these rewards just don't stack up. Now, he actually has one of my favorite rewards to take, which is this crafting skill magazine bundle. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to complete that. And then what we can do is we can look at that crafting skill magazine bundle. Here, we can open that up, and that typically gives us about 6 magazines. So we've got big hitters, we've got medical journals, and we've also got sharp sticks. So let's speak to him again. And do you have any jobs? Now that job that we took before is gone, and he only has 4 left. Now these aren't permanent jobs. These aren't the only 4 jobs he's ever going to offer us. These are always per day. So every day a new set of jobs will come about. You will typically find within the tier 1 category though that you have the same set of jobs coming up quite frequently, like the pass and gas store and the Moe's grocery. These are very common to see, and they're very useful in the early game. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the pass and gas store this time, and we are going to check that out. So coming out of Trader X, I can see that it's behind him. In that location, there's the Moe's grocery. Our base is about there. I think we can just about see it. I'm not 100% certain on that one. I think that's it right there, but it might not be. The pass and gas store, I apologize, is in this direction. So we've got a little bit of a trek ahead of us. We can also press M to bring up our map. Use the scroll wheel to scroll out. There's our base. So it's in a bit of the unexplored city that we haven't been to yet. Now, you can go via the roads, but I always advise going via the sort of scenic route. Go out here into the woodland, the nature, yes, that place, and keep a lookout for birds' nests. As I said, eggs and bacon are going to be a very useful resource in the early game that will actually see us through to the later game as well. And you need eggs for those, so just by coming out here, you can keep your eye out for those birds' nests. Also, zombies tend to lurk a lot more commonly within the streets, including ferals, and if you've got a city, you're likely to run into a dire wolf, and we don't want to be dealing with those just yet. Out here, I feel safer, and it's also more useful. And there is the pass and gas store. Now, I was able to find myself just 2 eggs, but I was able to get a few more feathers. Feathers are a lot more common within birds' nests than eggs are, but you'll still find them, and you'll find that they accumulate quite quickly. It also gave me enough to be able to make up my stone arrows. Now, pass and gas stores are super important, especially if you are playing modded. And when we turn this series into a modded series later on, then we'll start looking at why I find pass and gas stores so important. But also, most of them, there are a couple of different layouts for these, but most of them are very simple and straightforward. So make sure you check these pumps, by the way. These can sometimes contain gas. Some of these are really straightforward and easy and only have a couple of rooms. Others do have a little bit more, and I just kind of woke everybody up here, didn't I? That was not very sneaky on my part. Again, I'm aiming for the head. I'm trying to knock them down, and I'm moving backwards as I hit. I find this to be Just great for avoiding their reach. There's another loot bag there. Look at that. 2 explosive magazines and more ammo for our gun. Now, I did forget to grab some food from Moe's Groceries. Oh, what we put in the crate outside of Moe's Groceries anyway. So I'm hoping to find a little bit here. And you'll typically find that you've got a couple of coolers within a passing gas store, which is a great source in the early game of murky water. And also, you usually get a soda fountain, which can do a Mega Crush, which gives us stamina regen. And that can be useful if you're struggling with stamina to drink. It's great on, like, Horde Night. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself with Horde Night. We're not there yet. Now, cash registers usually contain a few dukes, so don't forget to check those. Now, out back, oh, be careful. There's a doghouse there, which means we've got a dog. Dogs can be brutal in the early game. So I'm going to try and get a sneak attack, and hopefully that takes him out. It does. Fantastic. Oh, there's a second dog there. Look, I did not see that. That's unusual to see 2 dogs at a 1-star POI. Okay, both dogs dealt with. I find the best way to deal with dogs is to shoot them. If you don't have sneak damage and you aren't able to take them out, go guns blazing. It's much safer. And then harvest them up. Hack them with the axe. If you've got a bone knife, do that. We'll do the first one with the axe, and then what we can do is we can go ahead and we can make a bone knife. This is one of the early game knives that we can craft, and it's very cheap. It just requires some bones, which we just got from the dog. And then I can use right click to go ahead and harvest a little bit more resources from this dog than I otherwise would get with a stone axe. Now this one has a ladder here leading onto the roof, so we're going to jump onto the roof. Always be careful when you're climbing onto roofs. There's 2 hazards that you want to look out for. The first one is vultures. Little birds, you'll see them sort of sat down if you're creeping about. We don't have any birds here, which is good. The other one is collapsing floors. Quite a lot of the time, POIs will send you onto the roof and it'll look like there's nowhere left to go. But when you walk over a certain piece of the building, it'll start to collapse, typically dropping you into a building filled with Zeds. So just be careful on that. But we're up here for the passing gas. Great. And the reason why I say these are super important is when we start getting into modded Minecraft, modded 7 Days to Die. Whoa, words, man. My other game. And we get more vehicles, wheels are going to be super important. And while we can craft them, they're pretty much always in these kind of boxes. This time we didn't get one, but it's exceptionally common to find wheels here. And also, them vehicle adventure magazines are common here too. And we want to make sure that we are getting those. We don't want to be stuck with a bicycle forever, even though we don't have it yet. Repair kit, battery, and then in here. And this is what I was talking about. This is a prime example. This is the loot room, and it looks like, okay, fantastic. We can go over there. Just be careful, because in rooms, floors collapse. And a great thing to do is you can actually run across the floor faster than it'll collapse. So you can kind of run across it and jump on something like this. But you can see that down there, we've got a few Zeds. We do not want to be down there. Although if you did fall down there, there's always a way out. We've got this. And you can see there's just very little room down here to really maneuver. And if you're playing on a harder difficulty, you know, you're suddenly going to take a lot of damage here. And because we're thirsty, it's taking us a while to regen our stamina. Okay, now that we've dealt with that... Oh yeah, don't stand on that. Go ahead and search the rest of it. I like to search these destroyed workbenches. Oh, we got a wheel there. They're typically, you can find like a forge ahead in those. Well, you didn't get one right there. But that's okay. Shotgun shells. Then we've got the passing grass crate here, another one of those, and hopefully this time we get a wheel. If not, maybe we get another vehicle adventure magazine. We need, I believe, 20 of those to get the first motorized vehicle. We didn't. We got some oil though. We also got some repair kits, which saves us in the early game. We got the rad remover, we got a bone knife, we got a first aid kit. Okay, so the rad remover is kind of good in 2 ways. It's a great mod to get, and I'm surprised we found it this early on. So what the rad remover does is later on we are going to find these glowing green Zeds. And they will have a lot more health and deal a lot more damage, but they also have health regen. If we were to modify our weapon and put this rad remover on there, it nullifies that regen. But there is another feature that it doesn't tell you about. And that is if we just simply add it onto our weapon, it actually increases the damage of our weapon. So even having it on when we're not facing rads is worth it. So now that I'm done, I'm going to come out here to the road. I'm going to use the same trick as before. Go ahead and putting one of those down. I'm also going to grab the crush and I'm going to drink this now. This way I've got some hydration and I've also got some stamina for going around here. Now, this is a clear the area quest. So what we're going to do is we've got to clear all of the Zeds in here. And like I said, for some reason, it always feels like there's more. But there's going to be a very big difference on this occasion. You can see on the compass there that we actually have these red dots that show us where the Zeds are. Now, they only show the Zeds in the rooms that we actually go in. So we've got an idea of where we need to go. So what you got to do is you got to go around this place, clearing out every single Zed. Now, we've already looted this place. I've shown you around this place. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out the zombies and I'll bring you back for the main loot. Although this time when I come out here, there actually isn't any dogs. But if there are dogs and you're struggling, you can always jump on the dumpster to get away from the dogs. As you can see, they don't seem to know how to get up here. That's just a little trick that you can use. Now, because this is a clear, we do actually have to go down here to these Zeds as well. But once we beat them up and we take them out, you could see there that the mission is completed. The objective now says return to the trader. There was no supplies here to be found. But because we have already looted this building and we respawned it using the quest marker, we actually have the loot to go again. Vehicle adventure there. With the ammo pile over here, we want to see 7.62s. That's what we're using. We didn't find any. We've also got the intellect mod, which is a really good mod to get. So if we go over here, we go to our helmet and we go to modify, we can take the cigar off and we can actually put the intellect mod on. And what this does is it raises our intellect skill by 1. So if we come over here to skills and we click the one that says intellect, it now says green 2. If it is green and not white, that means that something that we have done has increased it. It is not permanently increased. So if we were to take, say, points into advanced engineering, this one requires intellect level 4. What about this one? This one is also intellect level 4. Are they all intellect level 4? Okay, this one is level 3. We'll use this one as an example. If we were to take that and the 3 here was green, then that would be fine. But if we removed that intellect mod, that would put this back down to 2, or in our case, back down to 1. And the perk that we bought that required a level of 3 would no longer work. We would still have it purchased, and once we brought this back up to its required level, that perk would kick in again. But for the time being, it wouldn't work. So we got a lot better around on the second go round, but there is actually... Oh, wow, we moved insanely fast there. There is actually one more crate that we need to look at, and that is up here. Vehicle adventure, and we got another wheel. Now what we got to do is... Oh, I missed this. The armor fitting mod schematic. Now what we got to do is take all of our stuff back home. And deciding what to take and what not to take. And I realize now that I actually had 3 water on me this whole time. How embarrassing. Is going to be difficult, especially because the more that we take, the slower that we move. But I've actually got some perk points. And I've got 3 available to me. So I'm actually going to put one into Pack Mule. I think this is a good place to put one into Pack Mule. This means that we can now carry a little bit more. So instead of being encumbered by 18, we are now only encumbered by 15. I'm going to move a little bit faster. And I should be able to get back to the trader quicker. Once again, I'm going through the woodland. But I'm not exactly going by the exact path that I took last time. This time I've kind of made my berth a little bit wider, so that I'm going into the sort of entranceway here, as opposed to coming from this direction. That way I can check for more birds' nests. Now I'm going to take the 2 crates that we put outside the trader here and throw my stuff in those for now. We don't want to be getting our reward when we've got no inventory space to put it. And once again, we can go and get our reward. If you're struggling for food, you can always take the charred meat, but this does have the downside that it does drain your water a little bit, but we are finding that we've got a lot of murky water. We can turn that into regular water. Water isn't a problem, but I value the crafting skill magazine a little bit more, as I find them to be more useful. But there are times when I do take the food when I'm really struggling. And now we've got some more of these. We've also got some dukes. So we've done a couple of missions. So now if you haven't got the pot, you can always buy the cooking pot from him for just 600 dukes. As you can see now, it's gone back up to 600 because I no longer have the cigar on my headgear. I actually have the intellect mod. So you can always kind of interchange them or have 2 different pieces of gear. There are lots of different options too. So there we have it. That is everything that you need to know about getting started with the trader. The first couple of most common missions, what choices to make, where to go, and overall, what is your best options in the early game. Now the goal here is to get ourselves a couple of missions done so that we've got food and hydration. But the main goal that you're looking for, the main thing that you want, is that cooking pot. In the next adventure, we're going to take a look at a couple more of the traders' missions and some other locations that we can loot and how they also work. But for now, that is everything that you need to know about getting started with a trader. If you are enjoying this series, then please do leave it a like and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for the support on the last episode. We almost hit 1,000 views. That was amazing. But as always, guys, I'm KC. You are the awesome folk. You take care now, and I shall see you in the next one.